All right, folks, welcome into another episode of The Lab presented by Wolverine. Excited to be with you guys again. We've been cranking out some really great shows, so would appreciate it if you guys like this video and subscribed. Get active in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the show, anything you'd like to hear, any questions you'd like me to answer. Happy to interact with you guys. Big game this weekend. Michigan coming off a big game last weekend. It was a must-win versus Michigan State. Thankfully for the Wolverines, they got it done. And a lot to take away from that game ahead of the Oregon game this weekend. It was a pivotal moment in the season. And this preview versus Oregon is almost going to be it's going to be a blend of a review as well. Michigan had to win that to make a bowl game. Can you think about how crazy that is? How crazy that sounds? Michigan had to win to make a bowl game, coming off a season when they went 15-0 and won the national championship. What a wild turnaround in the wrong direction. And yet, it's very interesting to be in my career because I get to sift through some of the falsehoods and the narratives and just talk to the players and talk to the coaches. What I find interesting is if you get on social media or podcasts, there's a lot of division in amongst the Michigan community. Hey, is so-and-so going to sit out? Are they going to give up for the what? In the building, there's no division. The players love the players and support the players and believe in one another. Everyone wants to play and be involved in winning. Colston's been hurt this year. He's playing. Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. These guys, this is a physical sport. Like, these guys are laying their bodies on the line. Of course, Josiah Stewart. I could go down and down the list of guys that are playing really hard and doing it for their teams. Really hoping to see Will Johnson back this weekend at 100%, playing four-quarter football versus the Oregon Ducks, because that is a deep wide receiver room with a ton of talent and a quarterback that can make you pay. So anyways, the first thing is guys were frustrated and the coaches were frustrated because they feel that they are better than the record. They feel that they are better than the product that they had put on film for the majority of the season. And though last week's game versus Michigan State wasn't perfect, there is some takeaways. The first thing is Davis Warren's the quarterback. And I felt that they should have never went away from Davis Warren. My logic was, if Davis had done enough to win this starting job through spring ball and camp, then the start to the season, I didn't see enough to abort that decision. And I understand the 3 interceptions, but aside from that, he had an 100% completion rate versus Arkansas State, and he throws a tight spiral, and the ball was out quick, and he was making decisive decisions. You look at some of the interceptions, and this is per Colston, Davis, Sharon. There's an interception where on a seam ball where Davis is on a timing expecting Colston to cross face, so he throws it. Colston doesn't cross face, interception. There's another one where they're trying to run a throwback play. It's the worst call based on the defense Arkansas State called. It's a corner blitz, and as soon as Davis comes off play action, he turns around, there's a guy in his face, and he throws it. Now, of course, as a veteran, you have to take the sack, or you have to find the way to throw the ball away. But the one thing you can't do is throw an interception, which is what he did. But I say that to say this: that was his first, second, third, fourth. Like, he has not even started 10 games in his career, barely started any. So you have to accept the growing pains that come with playing a young quarterback. I felt that the way the quarterbacks had been handled this year stunted the growth of the rest of the team, meaning every new quarterback any new starter in general there's a learning curve and you have to make mistakes. So Davis starts and he makes his mistakes. And right at that inflection point of Arkansas State, where you see a guy with 100% completion rate, but 3 interceptions, now you move away from him. And here's the offense, and you're starting back down here. Orji comes in and starts versus USC, and he's growing and progressing, but making his fair share of mistakes. Washington, you have no choice. You needed something in the passing game. In comes Tuttle. And you see, okay, wow, wait a second. That very first drive, you're seeing some positive things. Tuttle is growing and making mistakes and bang, back to Davis. So everyone else is going through this volatile roller coaster because there hasn't been consistency at that position. I look at the way Davis played last week. He missed that third down throw to Colston early, and I pointed it out on air. That's one he can't miss. No quarterback's perfect. Excuse me, no quarterback's perfect. But what I see is a guy that is he's very intelligent, very committed to the process. Okay. Watches a ton of film. That matters. There's a mental side of that too, as the rest of the team sees how hard the quarterback's working. That matters. I see a guy that throws a pretty ball, really tight spiral, very catchable. We talk about, laying it out on the petri dish. Bang, we're going to set the table, and here's the ball for you. That's kind of the way the ball leaves Davis's hand. He's got his situational awareness is growing. The check down to Donovan before half, after Josiah Stewart had the strip sack and Kenneth Grant recovered the fumble. That's watching film, and that's a feel, and that's an awareness of the situation of, hey, we just need to get a few yards so we can get to field goal position. He felt the defense drop off. They were running a flood concept to the left. Donovan's leaking to the right, so he felt the defense not respect that. Snaps his hips around, quick, bang, balls out to Donovan and run. And Donovan caught some balls in this game, which I think was positive. The big key, 0 sacks, 0 turnovers. 0 sacks and 0 turnovers. You see how different the product looks when that becomes the statement. 0 sacks and 0 turnovers. I give a lot of credit to the offensive line. Remember, this is a new unit too, and I feel they're growing every week. That's not linear either. Growth doesn't look like this. Growth looks like this. You take a few steps forward, you take a few steps back, but ultimately you want to follow the long-term trend. You could see how important it is to get Miles Hinton back, lead blocker on a few plays. Greg Crippen settling in and establishing himself. Those game reps as a starter. Gosh, there's no substitution for getting those reps. I've loved watching the guards and Preeb and El Hadi. Those guys are beasts and highly underrated for their positions. And then, you have Gentry. Gentry goes down. In comes Evan Link. And I think Evan had the chance to settle down a little bit and played well. So that the offense will go where that group goes. And I felt that they put together a good game. Oregon's defense that's a tough defense now. That's a tough defense. They're good at all 3 levels. The size of their defensive line is respectable. And they do a good job really at everything. In the second half of the Ohio State game, they completely shut down the Buckeye run game. And that's with 2 damn good backs. Travion Henderson is a really good back. Quinshaw Judkins, really good back. The big thing for Oregon is they tackle well. Judkins had led college football in tackles. If you look at the last 2 years combined before this year, he had led college football in broken tackles. He didn't break a single tackle versus Oregon. They tackle well. They flow to the football. They are an emotional unit that feeds off one another. I don't believe they have an elite pass rusher that keeps you up at night, but they have guys with the ability to get after the quarterback. And they're disruptive. They force negative plays as well. So that's going to be the key here offensively for Michigan is those early downs, first, second down. Are you winning first and second down? Because Michigan's not really built to live in third and long for the majority of the game. Are you winning first and second down? Are you avoiding third down altogether because you move the chains? I thought it was good what the game plan Kirk Campbell, and some of you guys gave me crap for this. I thought Kirk Campbell called a great game. Got into it with some people on Twitter or X. What we have to talk about what the expectations are. Do you expect Michigan to be a top 5 offense this year when they're replacing a top 10 pick at quarterback, 6 of their top offensive linemen, their top 2 receivers, 1 of their starting tight ends, and their best running back? Do you expect there to just be okay, let's just roll, keep going? Like, of course not, right? So Kirk called a good game because Kirk has to call a game based on the personnel that he has and the way they're executing. In the Illinois game, there was guys open. There was a number of dudes open in the Illinois game. They just missed him. That first touchdown to Colston, the play action down in the red zone, that play was called 2 or 3 times versus Illinois, and Colston didn't get the ball. Got the ball. Touchdown. Right? Like that's the difference. I feel like Kirk had called a good game. We have to understand the context. Some people were calling for his head. What are we doing? It's insane. Um, the way he used both quarterbacks is key too, because really Michigan State had a good game plan in place. Like they had shut down Khalil Mullings, they had shut down Donovan Edwards. There wasn't much space at all. But bringing in Alex Orji led to explosive plays, led to a touchdown, and kind of opened things up. And it was very complementary to what the offense was doing as a whole. Uh, I asked Michigan, I was like, in our pregame meetings, I was like, man, Sharon, like one thing that was a staple of this Michigan offense is that every big game, there was some trick plays in there. They ran flea flicker 100 different ways. I was like, are you guys, can we expect to see that? And he said, absolutely expect to see that. What'd you see? Well, you saw a running back pass to Donovan Edwards and you saw a flea flicker. Okay, cool. This is right now, Michigan is not really built to go 4 quarters. They can't run it 32 times like they did versus Penn State last year and expect to win. They got to find some ways to stack the deck in their favor, which is trick plays. Cold out here in Chicago, a bit dehydrated, so trying to stay hydrated. Um, so I thought Kirk called a good game. I thought he managed the game well, and I thought Davis, everyone just did their job. It was one of those games. Everyone did their job. That flea flicker, Michigan State again defended that well. I challenge you guys, go back and watch that play. Like Davis Warren ripped that into a freaking tight window. Great job. So that's kind of in summary the offense. Colston is dynamic, man. I made a tight end list and I had Tyler Warren as the best tight end in the conference, and it's not that's not a knock on Colston. It's just the fact of the matter is Tyler has gotten a ton of opportunities. 17 catches versus USC. They're putting him in at Wildcat quarterback, and the offense has been functioning generally better for the season. So had to acknowledge that. But gosh, I'll take them both on my team. Colston as a route runner is the best route running tight end in college football right now. So just needs someone to get under the ball. And I think they found that in Davis Warren. They're going to need that this week. They need to be able to operate their system in this game. They need to be able to slow the game down. Oregon's extremely explosive. Slow the in all 3 phases, special teams and offense, defense as well. They need to slow the game down, which means running the ball. However, they got to do it. And it means converting third downs. However, they got to do it, which includes Colston, because they have to control this ball and condense this game, condense the game. Real quick on special teams, the punter, Doman, played a good game. I think that was much needed. Clearly talented, but I've been struggling these past few weeks. Field position matters. Again, every little bit matters for Michigan. Cannot have a muff snap on the extra point. Can't have it. Believe that's an anomaly rather than changing of expectations. This week it counts even more because, again, Oregon has the ability to hurt you in so many different ways. All right, when Michigan's on the field defensively, key is everything starts with that defensive line. In my opinion, the best D line in college football. You got 2 first rounders on the inside, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, and we saw them show up. 3rd and short, 4th and short. Kenneth Grant. Just think about this with me for a second. If you're a defensive or an offensive lineman and you see Kenneth Grant line up in his stance at 340, 350 pounds, he's a double wide refrigerator. He's a freaking massive guy. So you're leaning in your stance now. You're leaning because you're saying, I got to get under this guy and drive my feet. But he's so quick that as soon as you lean, bang, he's swimming and you're on your face and he's in the backfield. Those guys are a truly unbelievable blend of size, speed, agility, and power. It's remarkable. And then you got a guy like Josiah Stewart where he can make an impactful play at any point in the game, but he makes them in the biggest points of the game. Going into half, Michigan State's saying Michigan secondary without Will Johnson. The pass defense has struggled this year. They get a first down. They're saying with 2 timeouts, let's go, let's go, let's go. And their young quarterback, Aiden Childs, was not aware of the situation because here comes Josiah Stewart on his blind side. And what good players do is they make the sack. What the great players do, they take the ball away. Punch the ball out. Kenneth Grant in pursuit falls on it. The fourth down to ultimately seal the game. Who's there pressuring Childs? Josiah Stewart. Josiah Stewart. So an elite unit. I feel what I've seen in these past few weeks is Jayshon Barham is playing particularly against Illinois, played his best game of the season. But those guys, Ernest Hausman, are starting to play better. They're starting to kind of get a little bit more comfortable in the system. That's going to be needed once again. Oregon has a pretty darn good offensive line. It's going to be a fun matchup. That front versus Michigan's front. Jordan James, their running back, very dangerous. A dynamic tight end in Terrence Ferguson, a guy that they look to in third down, fourth downs. He's almost similar to what we saw last week with Jack Velling from Michigan State, how they were using him in certain situations. So gotta have an awareness of where Terrence Ferguson is off the run game, play action, and in the screen game. That'll be key for the linebackers and the safeties as well. A guy like Makari Page. Jair Hill, I've been impressed, man. Again, when I talk, it's very similar to the offensive line where progress is not linear. He has shown some really great things at his best. He's shown like, man, this guy's got some juice. There's been times in the season where he's shown his youth as well. So you've had to ride the roller coaster with Jair Hill a little bit. But man, was he dialed in and locked in, and he came ready to play and played a good game versus Michigan State. He'll be needed. Simply put, Oregon has a guy by the name of Evan Stewart, transfer from Texas A&M, one of the best players in the portal the entire offseason, and a guy by the name of Tez Johnson, who both those guys really dominated and exposed Ohio State's secondary. That's a fearless Oregon offense that they're going full speed at you for 4 quarters. And they want to challenge you to say, can you keep up with us? They're coming downhill, downhill, downhill. And they say, can opposing defenses keep up with us? And the answer for most defenses is no, they can't. So you got to be in tune to you got to get the calls in early for Wink. Calls got to be in. It has to be communicated from the inside out by your linebackers. And the D-line and everyone has to get in their stances and be ready and communicating, because Oregon's going to get into tempo and come at you very, very fast. I still, Zeke Berry is still a playmaker and a guy that has the ability to really be a special piece of this defense. He didn't play his best game versus Michigan State. He's needed. He's needed this week. And then Amir Hall, we'll see if that's Amir or Will Johnson this week. I don't have news in either direction for you guys. So that, of course, that's going to be important. Of course, Michigan secondary. Let me pull this stat up real quick for you guys. Here you go. So he'll be back at. Will has no plan of just shutting it down or anything like that. Will, if he could go out there, he would go out there in a heartbeat. Moore said, "I know he'll be back out there at some point this season, whether it's this week, next week, or whenever it is." So that's per Sharon Moore. A little update for you guys on Will Johnson. Again, like don't listen to the birds. Don't listen to the guys or ladies or whoever outside the program. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Listen to the coaches. Listen to Will. He is not cut from that cloth. Got it? All right, passing defense for Michigan right now. They are giving up the 13th most passing yards in the conference. Okay, and remember they've lost some games, so teams are up on them and still throwing the ball. Usually when you're losing games, that means teams are going to run it. So they're giving up the 13th. They're in the bottom half of the conference in terms of pass yards per game. The big key is opponent third down conversions. 11th in the conference. They're giving up 41% conversion rate right now. It's a bit shocking to me because the way Michigan's defense is built with the D line is you're thinking they're going to be able to get after teams. The third and long is what's really shocking to me. Michigan State, it's 3rd and 9, and they ran stretch zone to the left 3 or 4 times, and Nate Carter just popped runs and made it look easy. Um, they got to get off the field. Oregon's going to go for it on 4th down. Oregon's going to go for it on 4th down. So right now, Oregon is 10th in 4th down attempts on the season. They are 10th in 4th down conversions on the season, 8th in 4th down conversion percentage. So Oregon is aggressive in their mindset. They are going to go for it. They're fearless, as they should be. They've earned the right to be fearless. Really, in summary, the keys to the game is offensively, Michigan has to dictate the tempo. They have to find a way. They don't need to run it for 300 yards, but they have to find a way to get the run game going so they can slow the game down. Less possessions for Oregon, the better if you're Michigan. Converting 3rd downs, and that's on Kirk Campbell to find creative concepts to help Davis Warren and the offense as a whole move the chains. Clean is the last one. Clean, meaning no sacks, avoid negative plays, and of course, more importantly than anything, avoiding turnovers. If you turn the ball over, Oregon will make you pay. Period. Simple. That's how it goes. Defensively, have to win the early downs. Have got to stop the run or make it challenging. So forcing Oregon into decisions on 2nd and long and 3rd and long, forcing them into uncomfortable positions. Michigan has to win the early downs. They have got to communicate and get calls in early and efficiently. Wink, call in early in the play clock. Ernest Hausman, Jay Sean Barham, echo those calls. Get everybody lined up. Oregon's going to run quick tempo, and you have to be in position because the last thing is the second you're out of position, if you blow a coverage, if you are out in the wrong gap, if you are not playing proper technique in the back end, Oregon will make you pay. If there's a receiver open downfield, Dylan Gabriel ain't missing him. If you're playing press coverage and you're lazy in your stance, Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart, they're going to cook you, and it'll be 6. If you're out of your gap, Jordan James, he's coming. If you are too aggressive on Jordan James, Dylan Gabriel's going to pull it and run. So what does Michigan need to do? Everyone needs to play their best game. All 11 guys. The entire coaching staff has to coach their best game. And at the end of the day, that'll give you a chance. It doesn't guarantee you anything. That's why we love the sport of football. So, been enjoying this season with you guys. It's been a fun opportunity for me to, connect with you guys, as a fan base and as lovers of all things Michigan football. I appreciate the support that you guys have given down in the comments. Really, really fun to talk to the players and the coaches. I do not take this career lightly, so I'm very, very appreciative across the board. And it's been fun. Maybe fun isn't the right word. Interesting, unique, enjoyable for me to kind of see a different side of some of these guys. You learn a lot about yourself when you're going through tough times. Last year we did these shows and it was all smiles all the time as Michigan won and won and won again. This year, that's obviously not been the case consistently. So it's showed a lot of the character, and it's been really encouraging to learn. Some special guys on this team. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. Please like, please subscribe, please get active in those comments. We will see you guys next week.